History tells us wars are fought for land, ideology, or freedom. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the most pivotal battles weren't just decided by soldiers, but by something far more fundamental? And that is energy. Hi everyone, I'm George Economou, PhD economist, and this is the story of energy wars. Before I continue though, take a moment and subscribe to my channel. You will help many thirsty minds like you find my videos. Now, from the coal that powered empires to the oil that fueled World War II, the quest for energy has been the hidden engine of modern conflict. Today, I'm uncovering how the thirst for these resources has secretly dictated who wins, who loses, and who controls the world. Our story begins with the Industrial Revolution, which didn't just transform society, it transformed the very nature of war. The agent of the change, coal. Before coal, warfare was a matter of muscle and manpower, but with the steam engine, everything changed. Suddenly, empires could build navies that didn't depend on the wind. Coal-powered battleships could travel faster and farther than any sailing fleet. On land, coal-fueled railways moved troops and supplies on a scale never seen before, allowing armies to fight far from home. It's no coincidence that Great Britain, with its massive coal reserves, powered both the Royal Navy and the largest empire the world had ever seen. Coal became the bedrock of national security. This said is critical precedent. The nation with superior energy could project superior power. The switch from sail to steam permanently tied military might to industrial resources. But as the 19th century ended, a new, more powerful energy source was about to take the stage, one that would make coal look like a relic. As the world teetered on the brink of World War I, another energy transition was underway. Visionaries like Winston Churchill, then Britain's First Lord of the Admiralty, made the fateful decision to convert the British fleet from coal to oil. It was a huge strategic gamble. Oil-powered ships were faster and could be refueled at sea, giving them incredible flexibility. This single decision handed the Allies a crucial advantage. As British Foreign Secretary later claimed, the Allied cause had floated to victory upon a wave of oil. While coal was still dominant, World War I was the first major conflict where control of oil became decisive. But it was in World War II that the fight for energy became a matter of life and death. For Adolf Hitler's Germany, the quest for oil wasn't just strategic, it was an obsession. Germany had plenty of coal but very little oil. To fuel its revolutionary blitzkrieg, a rapid assault of tanks and aircraft, Germany needed staggering amounts of petroleum. Much of it was produced synthetically from coal. An expensive process the state subsidized because Hitler knew his war machine would grind to a halt without it. This desperate need for oil drove Germany's entire strategy. Anxiety over fuel was a key force behind the push east. Hitler's invasion on the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa, was in large part a high-stakes grab for the vast oil fields of the Caucasus. He even wrote, "Unless we get the Baku oil, the war is lost." The Battle of Stalingrad, one of history's great turning points, was fought as part of this desperate effort to secure those oil reserves. Meanwhile, a similar story played out in the Pacific. Japan, an island nation with almost no oil of its own, was completely dependent on imports from the United States. In July 1941, responding to Japanese aggression, the US imposed a full oil embargo designed to cripple the Japanese military. The infamous attack on Pearl Harbor was a direct and desperate response, a gamble to neutralize the US Pacific Fleet and, by Japan time, to conquer the oil-rich territories of Southeast Asia. From Japan's perspective, the Pacific War was a fight for energy security. Now, while the Axis powers scrambled for fuel, the Allies had a seemingly endless supply. The United States, with its colossal Texas oil fields, was the Saudi Arabia of its day. The vast production didn't just fuel America's military, it supplied Britain and the Soviet Union. The Allies' access to abundant, high-quality fuel, especially advanced 100-octane aviation gas, gave their aircraft a decisive performance edge. Allied bombing campaigns targeting Germany's synthetic fuel plants and Romanian oil fields systematically choked the Nazi war machine, grounding its air force and leaving its tanks immobile. Ultimately, a lack of fuel stopped Hitler's final major offensive in 1944. World War II was won decisively by the side with superior access to energy. The end of World War II created a new world order, built on cheap, abundant oil controlled by Western companies. That order was shattered in October 1973. When Egypt and Syria attacked Israel, sparking the Yom Kippur War, the US rushed military aid to Israel. In retaliation, the Arab members of OPEC, led by Saudi Arabia, did the unthinkable. They weaponized oil. They declared a full embargo against the US and its allies and slashed overall production. The result was a global economic earthquake. The price of oil quadrupled almost overnight. For the first time, the developed world experienced a true energy crisis. In the US and Europe, the effects were immediate. Mile-long gas lines, fuel rationing, and runaway inflation that tipped economies into recession. The embargo exposed just how vulnerable the world's most powerful nations were to the political decisions of resource-rich states. This wasn't just an economic shock, it was a fundamental shift in global power. For decades, Western companies had set the price of oil. Now, control had passed to the producer nations of the Middle East. They proved oil wasn't just a commodity, but a political weapon that could bring the world's biggest economies to their knees. The 1973 crisis kicked off the modern era of energy geopolitics, where access to oil became a central pillar of national security for every country on Earth. The lessons of the 20th century have echoed through the conflicts of the 21st. The 1990 Gulf War was triggered by Iraq's invasion in Kuwait, an act that threatened to give one leader control over a massive portion of the world's oil supply. Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine unleashed another massive energy crisis in Europe. Europe depended heavily on Russian natural gas, and by cutting off supplies, Russia weaponized its energy exports, causing prices to skyrocket and forcing nations to scramble for alternatives. This serves as a stark reminder of how energy dependence can be used as a tool of coercion. In response, Europe has been forced to radically reduce its reliance on Russian gas, accelerating its transition to renewables. But as the world pivots from fossil fuels, energy conflicts aren't disappearing. They are evolving. A new global competition is heating up over the critical minerals needed for green technology. Electric vehicles, wind turbines, and solar panels all depend on resources like lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements. This creates a new map of geopolitical flashpoints. The mining and processing of these minerals are concentrating in just a few countries. China, for instance, dominates the global refining of many of these minerals, giving it a potential chokehold on the green supply chains of the future. The competition for mining rights in Africa and Latin America is becoming a new arena for rivalry between US and China. We are trading a reliance on oil from Middle East for a new reliance of minerals from a different set of nations. New infrastructure is also becoming strategic. Undersea power cables, hydrogen pipelines, and renewable energy grids are the new choke points, vulnerable to sabotage and political pressure, just like the oil pipelines of the past. The battleground is shifting, but the fundamental conflict over energy remains. From the coal-fired fleets of the British Empire to the oil-starved armies of Nazi Germany, from the 1970s oil embargoes to the new scramble for lithium, the underlying story is the same. The history of modern conflict is welded to the quest for energy. It's the lifeblood of our economies and the fuel for our war machines. While soldiers fight on the front lines, it's often the silent wars for resources and supply chains that determine the final outcome. The transition to renewable energy promises a cleaner future, but it won't be a future free of conflict. It will simply redraw the map of resources competition. The energy wars aren't over. They're just entering the next chapter. So the next time you read about a distant conflict, ask what's flowing just beneath the surface. Chances are you will find the hidden hand of energy shaping the world we live in. If you want to understand more about the hidden forces driving our world, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. And let me know in the comments, what do you think the next major energy crisis will be fought over? See you all in the next time. Bye bye.